Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of Are You Not Entertained? I'm going to say it immediately. Subscribe to us, share us, like us, comment, talk to us, please, tweet us. Like our picture on Instagram, just love us. Please, please, please be our friends. But we've got a lot of stuff to speak about today. And first of all, I'm going to introduce my buddies, my pals, my padres. So we've got my brother Pete. Pete, how are you? How are you feeling after... I don't know, it depends how you see the game. Some people really enjoyed it, some people didn't. How did you see the game? How are you feeling about it?
It was the most stressed I've been in a very long time. I felt physically... At one point, I thought I was actually going to be sick. And that can't be normal. Like, I was shaking, physically shaking. I had sickness in my stomach. I was nervous the whole time. And really, had I been a neutral... I don't think I would have felt anything, because I think looking back on it now, it was a real nothing game, to be honest. But we'll get into that later.
I was thinking that as well. If I was a neutral watching this, I'd probably be a bit bored. that was my thoughts as well. But Ollie, how'd you find it? You normally uber positive. Was you thinking the whole time we're about to score? Where was you going, and how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good today. Thank you very much. Had a nice day at work, Jerry. Thank you for asking. I would ask how your day was, but you might talk for 5 minutes. In terms of the game, as Pete said, we're going to come back to it later. But yeah, it was pretty meh. I think I wasn't quite as ill as Peter was throughout it, but I think it was more of just, you're just waiting for something to happen, and then nothing actually happened, I don't think. But yeah, I had quite a few friends who are watching who aren't Spurs or Chelsea fans, and I thought it was pretty dire. So it says a lot.
You say you weren't as unwell, but you did nearly shit yourself before the start of the game, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I'd have to run to the toilet. Just the nervous poo struck me very quickly. Once the game had started, I calmed down quite nicely.
Your tummy settled, did it? And you're feeling okay.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Pleasure to be of service. So the game went on. We played Chelsea, obviously, as everyone you would think watching this would know, and we drew 0-0. And like Pete said, it was stressful the whole time, because the whole time you was waiting for something to happen and thinking it was coming. And game of two halves is a bit of a silly thing to say and a cliche, but I thought it was. I thought the first half we were a bit more in control, and I think they were a bit scared of us as well. How did you find it, Pete? So let's go for the first half first. What did you think? And how do you think the game was going?
Well, I think, first of all, that's a very sensible order to do things in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, it was hard to really... I found myself struggling to analyse it at the time, because, like you were saying, you just felt so nervous. But yeah, they did feel scared of us. Like, they didn't really commit much. We were very happy to let them push it wide and let their fullbacks have it high. I think Rodon looked a bit shaky at the start, which made you more nervous. He obviously grew into the game. Also, his chant is excellent. If we use his chant he had at Swansea, it's so good.
What is his chant, dude?
It's Joey Rodon's magic. He wears a magic hat. And if you throw a brick at him, we'll head the fucker back.
That is good.
I like a lot. That is a good chant. I thought Mourinho got it spot on. Maybe we paid him a little bit too much respect. We didn't really look to do anything in the second half. It seemed real clever. Well, I thought it seemed like Sissoko was dropping almost into a back three to cater to Werner's pace. And apart from the Rodon mistake where Werner actually scored, and then luckily he was offside, he wasn't really a threat. And I don't know if he was doing that because he didn't trust Rodon and Aurier there, or if it was just a plan full stop. But Sissoko did that job really well. I mean, Højbjerg wasn't as effective. He didn't win as much ball, but him and Sissoko controlled their parts of the pitch really well, I thought. Going forward, we offered very little. I thought Tanguy was sensational. Every time he got the ball, just looked so good. He's turning people for fun. Reguilon looked really solid again. it was one of those ones where I want to go to people like, oh yeah, they were 8s and 9s, they were fantastic, but Chelsea didn't really work us too much. They had a few crosses that Abraham probably should have done a bit better with. Yeah, like I think Ollie hit the nail on the head when he said it was a bit meh. Looking back on it after the game, after the event, I was very much like nothing really happened.
And I thought they actually got it wrong. Maybe that's strange to say because both teams came out of a draw and we didn't really go for it. They did try and go for it a bit more in the second half. But I thought we maybe missed a trick by not trying to take advantage of how scared they were of us. Seemingly from the City game, they went, well, we can't attack them. We can't really go for it because they will make us pay. And then I thought Lampard got quite a bit wrong, actually, in terms of, I thought he identified that getting crosses in early could be useful and that his fullbacks were going to get a bit more time to do that. And Reece James and Chilwell put in some good balls. They put in a few decent ones. We had quite a bad game. But Tammy Abraham, I don't know why he didn't play Giroud. I was terrified the whole game that Giroud was going to come on and score. So I thought it was a strange decision. I don't know why he didn't do that. I just thought he had the players there to hurt us. I don't know why he didn't play Havertz because he knew we were going to be deep. And why not play a player who's going to pick a lock? So I thought he made a couple of decisions, or maybe even bringing Havertz on earlier, like bringing him up the second half after what he'd seen. I don't know. I just thought after watching the first half, I was thinking Giroud and Havertz would be really dangerous to us here. And he didn't do it. So I thought Lampard's in-game management was a little bit wrong. Mourinho got exactly what he wanted. He wanted a 0-0 draw, really. I mean, he's coming out saying that we wanted to win, but we never really tried to win in the entire game. Ollie, how did you see it? First half or second half? You can move through the game.
I won't talk too much about the second half because it's very much Chelsea's half, I would say. I know you said about that sort of cliche, but it felt like it was. The first half, I thought we had the control, much like the Man City game where we had the control without really having the ball. We just let them just do what they wanted within reason, and until they got to our sort of defensive third, and then we just shut everything down pretty much. I think Joe Rodon was probably the only worry I'd say throughout the whole game in terms of the defensive side. I thought the sort of 6 you could argue that involved in that defensive side, if you include the back 4, Sissoko and Højbjerg, I thought they pretty much were pretty solid. They didn't create a huge amount, but of those 6, probably Rodon was the one I was most worried about. Obviously, his sort of 2 mistakes throughout the whole game really should have both been goals. Well, the offside was a goal, but disallowed correctly for being offside. And Giroud should score pretty much. You shouldn't miss that really. So we got away with that one there. But other than that, I thought he was pretty solid. I thought Eric Dyer looked really good as well. Again, he won a lot of headers in the air. Reguilon was energetic as ever and just got up and down, and really, really, obviously a great purchase for us. He's looking really good. Echoing what Pete said about Ndombele, I thought it was class as well. He takes risks as well, but he got everyone right in that game. Unfortunately, you just know a goal's going to come from it at some point this season. However, you've got to give him the rest of the time praise. You know what I mean? It's that sort of situation with him. I said to you boys, I think if he was on at the end when Lo Celso got that ball, I think he picks out someone, whereas Lo Celso just kicked it out pretty much for a goal kick.
How many times did you think about that opportunity today? I thought about it 4 or 5 times.
That was just the perfect Mourinho plan.
Yeah. I was sitting at work a couple of times today thinking, why didn't he just slip in Reguilon? Why? Why didn't he just put it to the left of him?
2 options and he just kicked it out. I don't know what he saw. I don't know if he shot or what, but it was
be honest, in the end, if he had a shot, or shot better, probably because they all followed, they all left. Yeah. So we actually ended up with a few meters space, like a few meters radius. So because he hesitated, but then he almost panicked and made a decision at the moment when he didn't have anyone around him. He'd lost that pressure. So it was a strange one. But I seem to get a lot of grief well, actually, I say that. I'm actually seeing more tweets about, leave Lo Celso alone than I am actually seeing anything derogatory about him. I think the only tweets I've seen are, I hate the regular tweet of, the apology will be as loud as the disrespect. Shut up. So that tweet I've seen 1,000 times. Think about something. It's like when people, it is what it is. Don't tweet that.
It is what it
Don't tweet. No, Ollie, stop it. Come on. Show a bit more intent, or be creative, or do something of your own. I just the apology with no disrespect. I see it every day, and it bores me to tears. Apologies to anyone who's watching who maybe tweets that on the regular. But yeah,
the people that tweet that on the regular are the people whose thing on Twitter is a little footballer that they've edited at home on their own because they've got nothing else to do.
Our prime audience.
Our prime audience.
And keep doing what you're doing, guys. You're great. You're great at it. Keep coming back to us. But I wanted to say, Pete, on your point, Sissoko helping Aurier out and allowing Aurier to only worry about Chilwell so that he could then worry about Werner. I thought Reguilon and Højbjerg did a similar thing, but they organised it slightly different on the other side. But I just think as a main plan, Sissoko and Højbjerg were told help the fullbacks to negate their wingers, and they did that excellently. Werner, yes, he scored that goal that was disallowed, but apart from that, he was negated. Ziyech was made to have a terrible game. I don't know if that was fully because of Regi and Højbjerg, because also just some of the things he was doing were awful, and I rate him so highly, but he was dreadful. So I thought that plan was executed perfectly, and then in the second half, it seemed that Lampard went, well, that's what they're doing, spotted it, identified it, got his fullbacks to get more crosses in, but it was a mute tactic because he didn't have the right man on the end of it. And Tammy, and not to be harsh on Tammy, but he's not great at that. I think Match of Day did a bit of a thing where he does struggle to score headers. He's tall, but he's gangly. He's not strong. He's not that kind of player. Whereas Giroud probably would have put a few away, which could have been really dangerous for us. But we come away from it with a 0-0 draw. And we will talk about Arsenal later. But if you go and beat Arsenal, which touch wood we should be doing on form, you come out of those games, those 3 games with 7 points. That is a bit of championship credentials, isn't it? Yeah. Isn't it?
It's also the first time we've had 3 away clean sheets in a row since 2013. I read the other day, which is stat. Also, we've played 2 of the most attacking teams in the country and kept 2 back-to-back clean sheets.
Absolutely.
But going back to what you said about Giroud, Jez, I had visions of him just getting on Rodon just all day. That's what he would have done. He would have just picked on him and just wore him down.
Well, that was it. I didn't understand that.
I think you're giving him a little bit too much grief, right? I mean, I know he was shaky, but actually in the end, he won everything. He won everything in the end, and he made one stupid backwards header towards Lloris. But I think he'll be all right. He's 23.
Yeah, he will be fine.
He's 23, playing against one of the best teams in the country on his debut. He's going to be nervous.
Yeah.
And you could see, weirdly, the first thing he did was in the first 10 seconds, they played the ball forward and he stepped out in front of Abraham really well, nicked the ball and then played out. And I was like, go on, boy. And then he had a couple of he just sort of held on to the ball a bit too long in the early stages of the game. The worst bit, I think, that he did, to be honest, worse than the backwards header, which was stupid, was when he lost the ball in the build-up to the Werner Dislav goal. And rather than just bust the gut to get back, he did a sort of stupid, did a clap, did a little hop, and then realised that he had to chase back. And I was like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You just got to go.
Things like that, though. I mean, I know you and I do them sort of things on the pitch all the time. I always let out,
No, but not. It wasn't the sound. It was the
jump.
It was the stop and the jump on the spot.
To not react and just go.
To not react and go back,
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think that Lampard should have been going, regardless of, I think Rodon did okay as well, but he was shaky, and you should be, if I'm the other team, or even as Tammy Abraham, I'd be going, it's this kid's debut. First day in the Premier League. Definitely going to go and sit on him, like Ollie said. And I think Giroud would have had the nous to do that. But let's move through, because really it was just a 0-0 draw. Just another day at the office. On we go. So we'll move on to the world of football. And we've got a few things to talk about. Quite a solemn world of football. Actually, we've got a couple passing away. Papa Bouba Diop was a crazy one. Is he 42? Was it, Pete?
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? 42 is crazy.
I think an illness, didn't he? They're not disclosed what it was, but I think he was fighting something, which you would assume.
Really? Apparently he's battling it for a long time.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned that in Match of the Day. Yeah. I don't know the ins and the outs of it.
No.
But yeah, really sad news on that one. And then just one of the best names to say as well, by the way, Papa Boubadio. Always one of the best names to say in football. And then the other one, many people's pick for the best player ever, Diego Maradona, on at the age of 60.
Mental.
And a lot of clips have been flying around, and I like that people have been like, right, we won't really mention the hand of God. We'll just talk about the other goal. and I think that's perfect for the time. But every time you see that goal, it is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
It is unbelievable.
I think on BT, on BT, where they had Joe Cole and Peter Crouch breaking down the goal. You seen it?
No.
So they've got it on like the screen, and they've got like they're circling players and they're breaking down how he just rips through everyone in his class. And it's great to see two players who we've sort of grown up with watching. You know, like Joe Cole in his own right was a great player. And he's just like starstruck. It's class.
Yeah. Did you see? I think today Napoli confirmed they're renaming their stadium. I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Nice. I
think so. Yeah, because they're naming it after that Maradona. I'm pretty sure.
Maradona Stadium, isn't that?
Just to the Diego Maradona Stadium, or
I think something like that. Yeah. But yeah, what a player, man! What a player. You know, you're saying about him being. Weirdly, I was watching something the other day. And I think it was someone asked Bernie Ecclestone, or someone asked one of a former racing driver. I can't remember who it was.
No, Schumacher. What's his name?
No. It was like an old one.
Coulthard.
Scottish guy, but it wasn't Coulthard. But anyway, they asked him if Lewis Hamilton was the greatest ever, and he said an interesting thing that he only thinks you can be the greatest in your time. So you can't have the greatest ever because there's too many. And that's in Formula One. There's too many variables. So I think that's quite similar in football. I think you can only really be the greatest of your own time. So I would say he was the greatest of his time for sure. Like I was like you were saying, just the clips. My favourite clip of him still is his crazy warm up that he does, where he's just like booting the ball up in the air, does a little forward roll onto the shoulder for no reason, just does like loads of weird stuff. But what
is it Lineker who Lineker tells that story, doesn't he? And he's like, we looked over, Maradona's warming up, and he just booted the ball up in the air, like, and he said he done like 15 or 18 times, caning it up in the air, caning it on the volley. He said, we all tried it in training next week, and he was like, I was at Barcelona, we're all trying it in training. 4 was the record. 4.
Yeah.
No one could beat it. And he is, what an insane player. I like your point, Peter, saying like the greatest of it, because the thing is, I would always be like, oh, Maradona, like a player like Maradona, or even, this is strange, but throw a few in there, like Sheringham. He's obviously known as that caliber. But I like players who, in my head, I think could play in the modern game, but also played in their era. Yeah. But then it's impossible to say, well, Ronaldo couldn't have done it back then because he would have got booted, or Messi couldn't have done it back then because he would have got kicked around. Like, whereas Maradona, you can say he did that. There's a crazy stat, isn't there, of a guy who like fouled him like 40 times in one half and didn't get booked. And that's the sort of thing that Maradona had to deal with. So you can't really compare because you can't say a player can go back, but you can say a player like Maradona could have played in the modern game because he's not going to get fouled. And he's going to have better conditions and so on and so on.
Yeah, you think like the sports science and stuff, don't you? You think how much better he would have been had he not been on drugs and alcohol, whatever, not the whole time.
Yeah. Well, he might have still been doing that. I'm sure there's a few players giving that a go. I mean, I don't want to say any players in my head who I think might be up to no good. I reckon there's a few in the club. Lamela, Coco.
Another Argentinian.
Coco.
Bit of an Argentinian thing, perhaps. But give the praise to the man because what a player. But the last one, and it's keep to South America, Cavani's tweet. And he has been officially given a 3-match ban. Is that right?
I don't know if it's official. I know they were talking about it, but
go on. One of you boys, tell us about it. Whoever knows more, and I'll have a little look and see if he has been officially punished.
Do you want to go, Oz? I feel like we know exactly. I feel like we know exactly the same amount.
Yeah, I just
who knows more?
Post
Fight.
Got deleted, isn't it? And it used a potentially offensive word. We're not actually too sure, really. But it's supposedly the same word that Suarez got his 8-game ban for using towards Evra, which is supposedly a common slang word or some sort of word in Uruguay. So it doesn't look great, but we'll see. sometimes context has a big impact on these sorts of things, doesn't it? And how words are used versus the actual word itself. So be interesting. Who knows? You can see it swinging either way, can't you? Really.
Apparently, in Uruguay, it's not an offensive term.
Yeah.
But Pete, you said like it loosely translates to like little black friend or something. Is that right?
Something like that. But for me, like if surely Cavani knows what went on with, like, he's been in the national team with Luis Suarez. Surely he knows what went on and how he got an 8-game ban for it. Like, you must know it's not okay.
Yeah.
Or at least, at the very least, no, it's not okay in this country. Like, I don't know, madness.
Yeah, very strange. It says he could potentially face a 3-game ban. Doesn't say
you can
it's not been confirmed. Which is interesting because obviously, if Suarez got an 8-game ban for saying it to Evra, but then Cavani puts it out on social media, and yes, it wasn't necessarily aimed, and maybe didn't. Maybe it was probably Suarez meant it to be aggressive, and perhaps Cavani didn't. But he put it on social media, so for everyone to see. So you could argue that's worse as well. But yeah, foolishness, and especially at the moment with all the moves and such a prevalent subject.
Exactly,
etc.
Well, that's what I was going to say. About 2 hours before he's put it on social media, he's just taken a knee and supposedly been against it. And
this is where the Prem needs to show that they're serious, because getting them to do that every week and being like, yeah, we're on the bandwagon, we're part of this, we're helping out. Well, do something now, because you've had a little tester here, and you need to prove that you mean it. But I think that is our world of pretty sad one. Negative stuff going on around.
I'll give you a little bit of a positive one, Jez. The Spurs FA Cup draw, the biggest gap between two teams in like 102 years or something ridiculous.
A team of marine biologists, I believe, made it.
I think you've made that up.
I've got some stats. I've got some stats.
You say that like 80% of stats are made up.
To play for Marine
83%
FC,
of people gone.
You have to be a marine biologist, and at least one of your parents has to be a mermaid.
At least one.
Doesn't have to be both. Doesn't have to be both. Because they don't have legs, and that's a problem.
Especially in football.
It really is. They're excellent at polo.
For me, I think it's almost a shame that it's away for Spurs. That is, if it was away for them, that'd been class. Imagine that sort of, the 8th tier of English football playing at.
I was thinking how sad that might be, because they might have turned up to a 60,000 seater stadium, never do it again, and have 2,000 people there, which they could probably just about have at their stadium.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd still. Just to be able to say you played it,
still love
at
it,
stadium,
definitely. But you would think, I would think about it all the time. I could have played in front of 60,000 plus people.
There was one other thing I read that reminded me there about Eric Lamela. Apparently, he's averaged a foul every 29 minutes in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, another good stat.
Stat.
Another good stat. But let's move it on. Let's get into. Well, let me ask, actually, what we're going to get into. So, Ollie, what's it time for?
Six-a-side segment.
Yes, it's that six-a-side segment, which Ollie so aggressively told us just now. We real He was up for it, and you could tell. And the reason he said it that way, I think, is because this week is for the biggest hard men. The tough boys, the big tacklers, the double. Oh, Ollie, looking very good. Well done.
Thank you.
Looking double tough over there. Well done, mate. So, I'll open. I was a little bit difficult for the goalkeeper. All the other players, I was like, yeah, easy, and I done it very quickly. And I went for a man who maybe just in my head should be tough, Paul Robinson. Because I think if you call Paul Robinson a skinhead, England's #1. I think you should be pretty handsy, actually. So I went for Robbo. You've got to make. Robbo's coming down later.
Weirdly,
quite tough.
Weirdly, he's probably. Well, I would say he's 100% the second hardest Paul Robinson that played in the Premier League. Do you remember Paul Robinson used to play left back for West Brom?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he definitely looked hard.
He was double hard.
Double hard.
Ollie, who have you gone for in goal?
I also struggled quite a lot for goalkeeper. But I've gone for who could be the most threatening. In that,
I picked
I've gone
Gomez.
for Brad Friedel because he's American and he's probably got a gun.
Oh,
So I'm thinking he's probably got a room full of firearms.
I feel like he's like the safest man on the planet, though. So
So
cowards hide behind guns, Oliver. Cowards do.
Maybe, but I don't know. I'd rather have a gun than not have one. If someone else had one.
what are you talking about?
Weirdly, I had Paul Robinson as well.
Oh, nice.
Off the back of him being Northern, and then I crossed him out and went for Joe Hart, also Northern, and I went for it off the back of how mentally went in that England game in the Euros when England wanted the ball. Where's the ball? Give it up, the ball! Ah!
I can see that.
So yeah, I went for Joe Hart. I felt like if it got down to it, although he couldn't wrestle John Stones very well the other day.
Yeah, but I reckon.
Did you see that before the City game?
More handsy. Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing actually. That moment.
Yeah, especially in the current climate of COVID.
Ill-advised. Yes, Peter, ill-advised. So
we need to vote?
Got to have a vote. I will open. I'll go on then, Pete.
Well, I was going to say I'll go first because I had Robinson down as my other one, so I'll go Robinson.
Have you got a question, Pete? What do you want to ask? My turn.
I don't want to ask
first.
my turn. Please, sir. Please, sir.
Go on then, Pete. You go first. So you vote.
Are you joking? I literally just said.
Did you have a question? Paul, he's gone for Robbo. I'll go for. No, I'm not going for Brad Friedel. I think he's probably the most placid man. Maybe if you'd have to get him to the absolute point of breaking him to lose there, but he'd be like, "No, I'm not fighting you, sir. I'll absolutely not be fighting you," in his English accent. So yeah, I'll go with Joe Hart because I do reckon maybe he could be a bit handsy, and he's got more of a temper.
I'll also go for Joe Hart as he was my sort of other thought as well. So Hart is in.
Oh, I'll tell you who we could have gone for, by the way. Remember Michelle Vaughan getting in a bit of a scrap at the Battle of the Bridge?
Oh, yeah.
He went for it, didn't he, for me? He got very riled up by the whole situation. But I think his was more of like a dishonour because they were going for like Pochettino and so on.
Yeah. Weirdly, I couldn't think of a goalkeeper for ages who could be possibly hard. So I just Googled Spurs goalies to see if there's someone I'd missed. And as I was flicking through, Michelle Vaughan came up and I went, couldn't be him. He's lovely.
He is lovely.
I completely forgot about the Battle of the Bridge.
Hell of a game. Jan Vertonghen's favourite game. Lest we forget. Yeah. I really like that.
Best draw ever.
My favourite game was that 2-2 draw because he was just like, that is the Premier League and he loved it. That's what his character is. Proper player. Right, defenders. I found this one. Yeah, actually, I did it straight away. Like literally, I thought defenders, and I went for Yunus Kabul. I thought Yunus Kabul looks fucking double hard. Like, I reckon just a headbutt. I reckon that would be his weapon of choice. A vicious nut that would just take you out. I always thought he looked like a bit of an Egyptian pharaoh, but like the sort of one that
he had the weird eyebrows, didn't he?
But he wouldn't be at the back. He wouldn't be at the back of his cataphracts. No way. He would be at the front, steaming forward, telling them to go. Like, go faster, like 100 metres in front of everybody else. The pharaoh's going to get himself killed again. And all the chariots have to catch up. And someone who might be able to catch up is my second choice, and that was Kyle Walker. I just always thought that Wolves, I just think he has a bit about him. Like, I don't think he'd go looking for fights. I think he was always a bit clever, but I always thought I think it was when he picked up Dyer to celebrate and he held him for like 10 seconds, and I thought this boy's strong. He's got a bit about him, and I just feel like if he had to, he'd be a bit tasty. So those are the two I went for. Not necessarily that big tacklers, to be honest, either of them. I'm probably a bit more careful with how they defended, but those are two I went for.
Fair enough.
So I've gone a bit alternative with my choices here. So I've gone for one who I've actually not seen us play. Not personally seen play, but he has played for us before. And that is Razor Ruddock at centre half. So, but then I've not actually seen him play, so I'm not quite sure where he's sitting the rules here.
That is an interesting point because he's definitely double hard Razor and a great. And I did think about it, but I did the same as you without putting him in. I thought I didn't see.
So you could but then we could include like Steve Perryman and people like that who are just like hard crazy men who just bleed for the shirt.
Yeah, I was thinking about Dave Mackay.
Yeah,
you know the one with the famous picture of Billy Bremner where he's like holding him up, but obviously never seen him play. So.
What do we reckon? Can I have Razor Ruddock or can I change it?
I think you can put him in at the in the expectation that we will not be voting for him.
Well, maybe I'll change. Maybe I'll change.
If you would like to change, mate, you may.
Withdraw Razor Ruddock.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, don't tell him, please.
Please.
But yeah, I'll instead go for Mr. Danny Rose, who I think would be very much a hard man. He's from Yorkshire. It definitely got a temper to him, and I could see him going quite. I'd probably back him in quite a lot of fights.
Little honey badger.
Yeah,
honey badger.
Going for it. He went for it in the Battle of the Bridge as well.
Yeah, I mean, quite a few players did. To be fair.
I can't remember who he was like squaring up to.
No, it was some like assistant, wasn't he? Like pushed him over or something, didn't he?
I think he went for a review.
Yeah, but anyway, Danny Rose won. And the other one I've gone for is because I'm certain he's part of a mafia. Is Vlad Chiriches.
Oh yeah.
With a name like that, you've got to be involved in something.
Beaches, I had. Just
beaches, yeah.
Beaches, and bitches.
Well, we've got six complete. Unbelievable. We're not that kind of pod. Six completely different.
Loves his bitches.
Anyway, enough of this silliness. I've gone for Jonathan Woodgate.
Sheriff Woody.
Yeah.
Proper Northern. Stuck his head on everything. Just felt like he had a bit. And this one, I feel like he 100% has to go in. Ben Thatcher.
Ben Thatcher.
Absolute nuts. He's
scummer.
He did one of the worst tackles I've ever seen on Pedro Mendes.
Pedro Mendes? He smacked him
with the elbow. He just comes flying in, and then the weirdest bit about it is like Mendes is out cold underneath him, and he just stares at him for ages, and then climbs off of him. He was nuts, man. He has to go in, Ben Thatcher. If you haven't seen it, Oles, you need to search it after this.
I have to look at that.
It's pretty disgusting. There's no need. Absolutely no need.
Like Portsmouth or something at the time.
Pedro Mendes, he weren't playing for Spurs. He was playing for Man City.
So he wasn't
done that to Mendes. Yeah.
But I don't know if Mendes was at Spurs or Portsmouth at the time. But it was.
Sorry, I was confused where the Spurs link was for Thatcher. Did he play for us then? Is he?
Yeah. He played for. He didn't play. He played like 40 odd games for us, I think.
Otherwise, how would he have voted for him?
I wasn't sure. I just thought Adores would be a good shout as well. I just thought Adores. But anyway.
By the way, Pedro Mendes could have easily been in my team for unconditional love. I adored Pedro Mendes.
Yeah,
goal that never was.
Really did like him. Oh, mate, what's his strike? But yeah, big shout, Pete Thatcher. I had forgotten about him, but that was a horror moment.
That is bad. I was saying about a coward's hiding behind guns. That was a coward's tackle, to be fair.
Well, that's it. So it's interesting to me. But we've not got a single linked up, do we? So we've got to get the votes in. Are we doing one vote first or two? Oh, I do apologise. Pick up.
He's so nervous. It's okay.
Is it one or two? Tell me.
Let's go for two each, then we can work out what we're playing with.
Yeah, but obviously not your own.
Not your own.
Okay. Ollie, remind me of your two.
Danny Rose and Vlad Chiriches.
I'm not voting for Vlad, no way. And then Peter's got Thatcher in, and who's your other one, Pete?
Sheriff Woody.
And Sheriff Woody. I think Woody was made of glass. He got injured all the time, so I can't pick him. I'm going to go with Danny Rose and Ben Thatcher as my two picks. Your Honour.
Cheers. Who are yours again, mate?
Carl Walker and Yunus Kabul. The ball.
I'm going to go for Kabul and Woodgate.
You don't know Thatcher. You don't know Thatcher, but you did know Razor Ruddock over it.
Well, I've never heard of some Thatcher person.
He's within your lifetime.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to go with Yunus Kabul.
He's in.
Get in, Kabul.
And Walks, maybe. I feel like the ones I'm left with are not. I wouldn't have picked Walks, Rose, or Vlad. They'd have been way down my list.
Yeah. So then I guess...
Well, I think we should be putting Cabal and Thatcher in, Ollie. And the reason I think that is because you're only not voting for him because you don't know him. So
you don't know him like we
like,
know him, Miles.
Yeah, we should be putting in Thatcher and Cabal for me.
Thatcher is in then.
If the people are happy.
I think Woodgate should go on because Pete voted for Woodgate initially and I voted from second.
You say that every time, Ollie. It doesn't work that way. Everyone who got a vote then would have got two. You're an idiot. Stop it.
I think the midfield two are very easy, so go on, Jez.
Oh. Okay. I'm actually hoping people would have done the same as me, actually. Højbjerg, by the way, might get a shout in this down the line, potentially. Yeah. But he's a bit smarter. I feel like I'd back him in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good six-a-side. That's the two good six-a-sides. Winners of Hunger Games, losers of Hunger Games.
Losers
out
of
first.
Hunger Games. There'd be some good because you wouldn't with the losers of Hunger Games, which would be so fun. You couldn't just go for like the small, quick people because they can get away. You've got to find these. Like Crouch, he's probably dying, isn't he? Because so big.
Save it, Jez. Save it for another week.
Sorry.
Save it for another week.
So my two picks for the midfield were Wilson Palacios and Sandro, and I think if Sandro's not getting in there, ludicrous. Because the man was a kung fu giant. So how can you not be picking Sandro? Also, it was I think it was against Chelsea, actually, when he planted his feet and he just let the ball crash into his skull. And that is a man after your own. You've got to love that guy. So, yeah, I adore him. So, yeah, Sandro and Palacios, they were my picks. A couple of double R parts.
Speaking of skulls, by the way, we probably should have mentioned Raul Jimenez in the world of football.
Yeah, especially when you mentioned Thatcher clashing into potential
career end of that one.
Yeah.
It was horrible. You guys watching the game?
Yeah. You could hear
it. It was the noise, wasn't it? It was the noise. And it being in an empty stadium made it worse.
A friend of mine said in our group chat that it sounded like when someone like dropped a watermelon. And you just mate, it's so accurate as well. You're like, oh. Anyway.
But yeah, horrible. No, wish him a speedy recovery. That was terrifying. Louise, clumsiest guy. Like,
of course, Louise.
But
it's not Louise.
Only Louise would do that, like a full throttle, straight into his team. Yeah. Ludicrous. But he done well, to be fair, to just get up and carry on. Shouldn't have been allowed to play, in my opinion.
No. I agree,
Which is mental from the Arsenal staff. But, boys, it's Arsenal, eh? Everyone's saying. So it's like Fergie used to say, it's only Arsenal.
the midfield two is very easy for this one. And Palacios and Sandro.
Already done. Don't need to hear from you, Pete. Thanks.
Sorry, Pete.
Well, there's a Triple Crown champion and there's another man who gets a mention but doesn't get in. So Sandro is a Triple Crown champion. And I've gone for Didier Zakora.
Oh, yeah.
Did like Didier.
Didier Zakora loved the tackle. Yeah, and that thing with Emre, which was mental, which was fair play to him. But yeah, I did think about Palacios, but I decided to go for Zakora. I just leaned towards Zakora a little bit more. I think just because Palacios in my head is a bit thick. So he's a bit too stupid, not too stupid to be a hard man, but he's just a bit duh.
Some of the hardest guys are.
Yeah, that's true, to be fair. So yeah, so Sandro's a Triple Crown champion.
Congratulations, Sandro.
In goes, fully deserved, and in goes...
In honour of that, Pete, should we let Ollie do a roundhouse kick?
I think we should.
Ollie, can we see your best roundhouse? Stand up. Oh, whoa.
Careful, Ollie. You have someone's eye out with that. God.
It's gracious. There's our odd man.
Is it too late to change my striker?
What, to Ollie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Pete. You never played for the club. And neither did Ben Thatcher, according to Ollie.
Okay. Didn't.
Right, strikers, Jez. Or striker, sorry.
I'm guessing that you boys might go the same way. I went for Robbie Keane. Absolutely handsy Robbie Keane, with the rumour of him knocking out Edgar Davids and banishing him from the club. So I went for Robbie. I thought there aren't too many strikers we've had that have been, in our lifetime, who have been like tough guys, big, strong centre forwards. We've been looking for one for the longest time, and Vinicius is hopefully going to. If he could beef up a little bit, I'd be very happy with him. But yeah, I went for Robbie. Off of the back of that, I heard he'd done a lot of boxing, like growing up. Irish are always hard, and apparently he absolutely nailed Edgar Davids. So
yeah,
I went for Robbie, the Keane machine.
I'm actually quite torn on this one. I thought I could have gone two ways in this one, but I've actually gone for Dimitar Berbatov.
Oh,
I feel like
yeah.
there's something about him that would just be like, you just wouldn't want to mess with him. There's something about him.
he could just snap.
Yeah, you just look at like he's so cool. He'd kill you and just not even. Flinch.
He'd be in a room with 10 blokes. The lights would go out and they'd come back on, and he'd just be stood up, and they'd all be wiped out around him.
Yeah, he'd shoot you in the face with a shotgun and make you apologise to him.
And he just got a cigar.
Yeah, take a check. Yeah.
He actually has a story linked to the mafia, doesn't he? Like a rumour.
Yeah.
Do you remember it? But like when he was playing in Bulgaria and he wanted to leave to go and play in Germany, I think, or I think that was the club, but whoever he was going to, they had said to him that you can't. The club he played for apparently was like run by the Bulgarian mafia, and they were like, "No way, we're selling you. It ain't happening." Apparently, had like him over a barrel, like etc. We'll do this, we'll do that if you try and leave. And he said to his agent, "Leave it with me." And the rumor is that he drove to meet them and just went to a bar, spoke to them about it for however long, and got his transfer. Like that is the rumor about it.
If that doesn't convince you that he's a hard man, I'm not sure what will.
The thing is, I can believe it. I can believe he'd be like, "Look, I'll speak to him."
Yeah.
And he just slicks his hair back.
Yeah, I'm going.
Puts a leather jacket on and goes.
See, he could be in the mafia, Ollie, but Vlad Kirikez does not suit the mafia. I'm sorry.
Well,
I have gone for Robbie Keane.
Oh.
Off the back of the same story of thing with that is it's a guaranteed story because I've heard Michael Dawson tell it, which means it definitely happened. So it's been confirmed, whereas Berber's story unconfirmed. Also, Robbie Keane single-handedly stopped me putting Edgar Davids into my team because he would have gone in had they not been beaten up by Robbie Keane. So he gets in for me.
That's fair. Well, he deserves it. Keane deserves it.
Yeah.
And that, Pete, I can actually confirm the Bulgarian story about Berbatov from my friend Dimitri, who's in the Bulgarian mafia, and he said firsthand.
Well, my friend Vlad is in the Romanian mafia, and he was there.
Stupid.
Anyway,
let's hear it.
The Are You Not Entertained biggest hard man six-a-side team is as follows. We've got Joe Hart in goal with his super long neck. We've got Yunus Kabul, his scary eyebrows, and Ben Thatcher's very pointy elbows. He made 36 appearances for Spurs, by the way. In midfield, we've got the midfield general, the Triple Crown captain, Sandro.
Nice.
Wilson Palacios. I can't think something for him quick enough.
My brother. He's got a brother called Jerry. Or I think had a brother.
He's got loads of brothers that play football, didn't he?
Really?
Didn't he have a brother kidnapped and murdered as well?
Yeah, that's when it all went downhill for him at Spurs.
Mental.
Yeah, Harry Redknapp said he was like, if you heard Harry Redknapp talk about when he came down, it was like 7 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. It was like an away day in the hotel. And we said Wilson was just sitting there with his with all his stuff, like with his suitcases and that. So he'd been up, it transpired he'd been up since like 2 a.m, but he didn't want to leave until he saw Harry, so he could just say to him, "Sorry, Gaffer, I've got to go." Like, and Harry Redknapp said he was like the nicest guy, like the most polite kid. And he said, honestly, after that, he just wasn't the same, and just really felt for him. So like, bless him. That was a hell of a story. But yeah, he does have a brother called Jerry Palacios, who's also on FIFA, or was on FIFA, and I used to sign him off. like low league clubs.
We had the same name.
Yeah, he wasn't very good, but I was like being lower league clubs, and he would do a job. He's quite a lanky player, and I was like, yeah, he's useful. He was useful. And
also up front, we have our hero, the greatest celebration of all time, Robbie Keane.
Good team. Good team.
Right, let's go into our new segment. We've had a bit of an idea, a bit of a plan. We thought, what Tottenham fans love more than us ridiculing them? Us looking out into the Tottenham Twitter sphere and finding terrible Tottenham tweets. And believe me, you could do this for any club, but we obviously follow a lot of Tottenham fans, a lot of Tottenham fans follow us. Hopefully they don't think our tweets are terrible, but sometimes we do see some pearlers. And some of these guys will normally put out great tweets, but we're having a little scan. And what we're going to try and do is each of us are going to find what we think is potentially the worst tweet we've seen that week. So I'm going to ask Ollie to go first because he's been so professional all show and he really deserved it. Ollie, what's your tweet?
So I found this tweet here. It's from @CraigMonitz _.
Congratulations, Craig.
Very five, yeah.
You're the first man to make it.
Yeah, you are officially the first terrible Tottenham tweeter. His tweet is as following: Spurs are a better team under Mourinho than they ever were with Pochettino.
Oh, and you go on then. You tell us why that's a terrible tweet.
I think under Pochettino we were arguably one of the best teams in the country for about 12 months, albeit in two halves of two different seasons. So I think it's incredible to say something like that at the minute. Two very different styles. Mourinho's not won us anything. Poch didn't win us anything. We played much better football under Poch, with arguably a lesser squad at the time. And yeah, I think to say we are a better team now than then, I think it is harsh, very harsh.
You think it's premature?
Yeah, very. If there's potential, if we go and win the league, then of course it's a better team. However, the fact we haven't won anything, it's 10 games in. I suppose you could argue that we are actually top of the league for the first time. And I think I saw something the other day that we've been top of the league for longer than we have in the last 10 days in the last 5 years, which is kind of mental. But yeah, I thought so. I think that was a pretty terrible tweet.
Pete, anything to come back on that tweet?
Yeah, to be fair, I also looked at that tweet and was going to put it in, and then I almost talked myself out of it. I think he has jumped the gun a little bit. I would say they're a better defensive unit under Mourinho, but then we're a better attacking side under Pochettino. So, yeah, I think it's crazy to say that, especially when you think about some of the results we have had under Mourinho that have not been great. Like, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the way this pragmatic style of football gets us to a title. But yeah, you can't say that yet. You've jumped the gun way early. It's like a lot of people. I know it's nice to see us sit on top of the league, but people talking about it so much already. It's like, stop it. Just stop it.
Getting overexcited. Got to try and be humble. Højbjerg's interview the other day saying that, being humble but also being confident. But yeah, all right. A nice choice. Little debate. I'm going to bring it. So I've got a tweet from an @FT1882 Coys, and I don't believe this guy was born in 1882. I don't. So that immediately riled me up. But this is what he said. I said, I'm going to say it. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is the closest player to Roy Keane than Roy Keane himself. Firstly, it annoyed me that he had to identify that Keane was more himself than Højbjerg. That irritated me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Why do you need to say after comparing someone to a player? Apart from Keane, he is more like Keane than Højbjerg. That irritated me. And then he said his tackling, work rate, leadership, he actually put work mate, which also irritated me, and ability is so reminiscent of Keane, El Capitan. But this is where it goes, because I don't mind that as a comparison, but I didn't like the first bit and the messing up. Someone questioned it, and he said, Pierre is aggressive, the way he roars after every misplaced pass and demands the best from the other guys is so good. Also true. But all we need is a couple of leg breakers, preferably on Bruno Fernandes. Now, I don't like Bruno Fernandes, but I also don't like to see someone tweeting about breaking his leg. So, but the main things I have to say, so the main points I want to make is that he put workmate instead of work rate, which really annoyed me. And that he also felt he needed to identify that Roy Keane is more like Roy Keane than Højbjerg. Irritating. And that's my terrible tweet.
No, I agree with the leg breaking stuff. I despise Bruno Fernandes. I may come around to like him. I don't know if it's partly because we could have had him, but I also feel like he is a cheat in terms of whenever he gets touched, he goes down so easily. And I want someone to get in his ear and say, you can't do that over here. But yes, I think that's a terrible Tottenham tweet. Shall I go?
Yeah, I wanted to save yours because you've been building it up.
Well, don't build it up too much because it's not. This is from @JamesTot1000, the 1000th member of the noble James Tot clan.
Mm-hmm.
And he tweeted this. Some love going around Twitter for the GOAT, and it's long overdue. Players win you games with the ball, but some stop you losing without it. And that's Sissoko. Now, I 100% agree with him. Players do win you games with the ball. And I also 100% agree with him that there's some players that stop you losing without the ball. My issue is that he is called Moussa Sissoko the GOAT. Now, I am going to be spending every waking minute I can in this segment finding people that call Moussa Sissoko the GOAT and calling them out, because Moussa Sissoko is not the GOAT, all right? He's not. He's not good enough to be called the GOAT. He's not the greatest of anything. Not the greatest of all time, that is for sure. So I'm telling you, if you're a Spurs fan and you follow us, if you call him the GOAT, I'm calling you out. He's not.
And
he will find
it.
you.
He is
He
the
will find
greatest Sissoko since Sissoko.
He's not
Yeah,
even that, because it's better Sissoko's playing in him now.
I would say that Peter is the greatest of all time at getting riled up about Sissoko being called the GOAT.
Yeah, he's not a fan of
I'm very good. No, I'm
No,
not.
I like that, Pete.
And people might stop doing it if they know about my high blood pressure, because it gets me super riled up, Jerry.
You
Yeah,
should,
he's got a
you
high
should
blood
speak
pressure.
to the @Spurs official, because they like to tweet the GOAT quite a lot.
Oh, they'll be next on my list if they do it this week.
They're a part of the problem. They are a part of the problem, and also a part of the problem that is Peter's blood pressure. We need to keep it lower. But that was terrible Tottenham tweets.
I feel like we should vote on the worst tweet.
Okay,
We're still going with terrible Tottenham tweets. All right.
The judge
I'm going to vote for Peters. I think, Ollie, that whilst I agree with your statement of it being a bit more premature, I thought Peter was more passionate in his delivery. So that's why I'm going for Pete.
I'm also going to vote for my tweet.
Well, it's a full house then, Pete. It's a full house.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm coming for you, Sissoko lovers.
Pete is the GOAT of this segment.
You can love him, just don't call him the GOAT. Just don't over-the-top praise him. He's good at what he does, but understand his limitations, because he does. He understands his limitations now. He doesn't try and shoot, although he did try and volley one against Chelsea, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, it's so bad.
Fake. He dummied it.
What a dummy, yeah. He's a dummy.
He is a dummy.
He's a dummy, all right. Oh, Ollie, that's the end of terrible Tottenham tweets.
I won't interrupt again, Jez. Not for at least 5 minutes.
That's the end of it. Right, we're going to finish by looking to predict the Arsenal game coming up, because we're going to gloss over the Europa League. We're not really looking to go too into it. We might talk. You've got a question, Ollie.
Gary, I have a question. Well, it's more of a collection of statements than a question.
Go for it, young man.
As we are going to gloss over the last game, I thought I would come up with a couple of facts for you boys and our listeners out there. Because I know how much we care about these Europa League games and how much we want to learn about different parts of Europe. So Lask obviously played in the Austrian league. They only got promoted to the top flight in 2017, having yo-yoed for multiple years before that. Last season was their first adventure into Europe. They were obviously in the Europa League. They got all the way to the quarter-final and played Man United and got battered. But they did well. They also don't play their games in Europe at their actual home stadium. They actually play it at an away stadium, technically, because in UEFA, your stadium has to have a minimum of 8,000 fans in attendance or seats, and they have 7,870 seats. So they fall short by 130, which is mental. So they have to play in a different stadium, which is nearby. But they are currently having a new stadium built, which will be open in 2022.
That's a good stat. I like that.
Oh, Ollie, thank you.
Thank you.
Very well.
Thanks for those stats. That's very nice. And if you ever interrupt me again,
You're going to
great stats. No, I love a good stat. I love a good stat. So, we're looking to close the show, and we're closing the show by doing our predictions. Now, last week, what did we predict? I mean, did any of us go for a draw?
I wrote
against
down.
Chelsea. I think I went for a 3-2 win.
I went loss.
Certainly didn't happen. He went for a loss.
Jez went 3-2 Spurs. Lampard sent off. Didn't happen. I went 1-1 with a Dyer own goal. So I got a draw.
Yeah, good.
And Pete went 2-1 Chelsea and Mourinho sent off.
All of us wrong, but Ollie again. Correct result. I think
the result, right? Yeah, I should start doing accumulators or something.
Back-to-back results, Ollie.
So let's predict the Arsenal game. It's a hard one, but the old cliche, form goes out the window, etc.
Yeah.
Who wants to open with their... in fact, Pete, why don't you open? Because I think last time you were the last person. So this time, welcome. So give us the score, maybe a little bit of how you think it will go, and a niche thing that may happen.
I mean, it's just set up perfectly, isn't it, for me here? Because we should comfortably win. Because I watched them against Wolves last night, and they were, honestly, nothing. Aubameyang was a lonely figure up front. No one was creating for him. He looked stroppy, like he wasn't working as hard as he does. Like playing through the middle just wasn't working for him. It is set up for us we should win. And that is where my pessimism comes in. And this is where my issues are. I think it'll be closer than it should be. I think we'll win 2-1. And I think we will see... What niche thing will we see? Oh, I don't know. Let's go with... Stevie Bergwijn to get the winner.
Ooh. All right. Ollie, you can go second, my friend.
So Pete, what's your score prediction, mate? So I'll write it down before I forget.
2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Stevie goal. But no, Stevie winner to be specific.
Stevie winner, yeah.
I can't think of a time... Actually, no, there's one time where we have humiliated Arsenal. We beat them 5-1 at home in the Carling Cup, which they went on to win.
Lovely day.
I believe this opportunity to repeat that. And I think we're going to 3-0. I'm feeling like we're going to put some serious dirt in their face. Lack of a better word. Just
He's
really
a trash talker. He's always been a trash talker.
just really rub their face in the mud. I would love it to just absolutely humiliate Arsenal. But my niche thing is that Gareth Bale is going to return of the king, and he's going to score from outside the box.
Oh,
nice. Okay. Yeah, I have it set in my head. I think we're going to win 2-0. I think the niche thing I'll say straight away is I think that they'll have a goal disallowed. So I think they will score, but I think it'll be disallowed by VAR. Break them emotionally. And then after they put that effort in, we'll just go through the game, win 2-0. I think we should just be controlling it. And with the mentality and the way Højbjerg's speaking and the way other players in the squad are talking, and the way Mourinho's getting them to act, they should, and we have to be careful here because it's going to be such egg in our faces if Arsenal win this game. We don't go and win this game because we look so much better than them. We said that we're not scared of them, and we shouldn't be. And we should go out there, and if we're professional, and if we play to Mourinho's plan, the only thing that worries me is that Arteta will probably get everyone behind the ball as well. Mm-hmm. But if we score first, I can't see them causing us damage. I think if we get the first goal, we will win this game. Mm-hmm. We will win this game. And if we do win this game, we come out of it, as we say, the 3 big games with 7 points. And wow, we couldn't have really expected such a good reaction and done so well in such a tough period. So please, boys, please just be professional. I'd like to see Kane score because I think he could do with a little goal in the middle. I know he's obviously the great start of the season, but I really think he could do with a little goal, really keep him going and keep him upbeat and really going for it and just confident. So yeah, that's what I'll go for. And I think, I reckon they'll score. I reckon Alba will score and it'll be disallowed. I'll even go more specific. I think Aubameyang will score and it'll be disallowed. And it will just devastate him. Because I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans saying he's not playing with a smile on his face at the minute. It doesn't surprise me because, like I say, when I watch them against Leeds, I watch them against Wolves. Don't really know the plan. Don't really see the plan. And what was we saying at the start of the season? Arteta knows exactly what he's doing. He's got them going with a plan. He's implementing something that looks positive. And we were getting upset about Mourinho, saying we don't understand what he's trying to do here. And then complete opposite now. Complete opposite. Mourinho's plan is clear.
I saw a wicked clip someone tweeted it was of Arteta. He had his arm around Ceballos and he was bringing Ceballos on for a sub, and he's like that. And it says, like, my man's making, like, decisions on the spot, and he's going like that. Then you're going to go over there and then to there and this way. Like, he was just thinking about it there and then. It's so good.
I think the only concern...
Football. You're playing football. You go on there and you play football.
Only concern I have is that we play away in Austria on Thursday night, and they are playing at home on Thursday night. That's the main difference there. We've got to fly back, get back Friday, have Saturday to finish recovery, and then we play Sunday. Whereas they get that extra little day of recovery just because about the travel and stuff like that. I imagine I think we're actually the early game on Thursday, so we'll probably we'll probably fly home straight away and be back Thursday night. So it might not be too bad, but that's the only thing that would worry me slightly.
Yeah.
Travel.
Would you leave some people at home?
Yeah.
Like a few specific players?
Lloris, I'd leave it at home.
And who would you leave?
Did we beat them 4-0? Was it last time in the last game?
Or did we lose? So.
No, we didn't lose. We lost 1-0 to Ludogorets, didn't we?
Well, did we
they scored.
3-1? Regardless, we won. 3-1 win?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I think we'll leave some players at home. Kane won't play. I reckon Bale will play, though, so...
I think you'll leave Lloris at home.
Yeah, I would leave Lloris,
I think I'd like to see him leave Dyer at home.
Yeah, I think he...
Take Sanchez and Tanganga, man. Play them two.
And Rodon's probably enough on the bench.
Jaffet, by the way, I thought was...
Rodon can't play in the Europa League, can he?
Oh, Chris can't, yeah. So Dyer will probably go then.
Yeah, he will. He'll take him. Jaffet, by the way, I thought was absolutely incredible at centre-half. I know we played a very bad side, but I thought he was so commanding.
He's so aggressive, isn't he? He's so aggressive.
Yeah, I didn't like it when Mourinho said that he sees him as a fullback.
No, I didn't.
I don't. I just don't.
I didn't see that. Really?
Yeah, Mourinho said he sees him as more of a right back than a centre back, and then obviously played him centre half the next day. But I don't think Jaffet like that either, and I think that's why he was so commanding in that game. Big headers, like I reckon he.
What was he just? Sorry, what was it?
He was
commanding.
He was commanding. I was about to say he was good. He was
just the way he went commanding every time head played him.
Just a bloody commanding centre half. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Jaffet, and I actually still have him over Rodon. But I think because of what Mourinho said, he has Rodon as the centre half that he wants to play while Toby's out, not him.
Jaffet's our player of the season last season, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
We know what we're talking about.
I think he's a top player. But gents, thank you so much for your time. It's been a commanding performance from both of you throughout. And the rest of you, just please view us, please love us, please like us, please be our friend, like, share, subscribe, tell your aunties, your uncles, your nans, your granddads, tell them all about us and spread the word. And all we can say is, up the Spurs, let's go get the Gooners.
Spurs.
See you next week.
Come on, boys.